Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm Mark Chussell, the founder of Advanced Competitive Strategies. Welcome to this ACS strategy story. This time we're talking about how companies cause bias. Unintentionally, of course, but they cause it nonetheless. We'll discuss how it happens and what to do about it. So this is the short version of my bio is that I've consulted, written, taught, and simulated competitive strategy around the world for over 40 years. Now, we think of bias as being purely an individual thing. It's cognitive bias, and cognition takes place one brain at a time. Now imagine a bunch of individuals, each with a brain. Imagine that they work at the same company. That makes them more than individuals. They are an economic collective, a team, a culture. How can ordinary business procedures cause bias? Well, everybody is in favor of consensus. Consensus is better than conflict. Being against consensus is like being against kittens and puppies. But it's not so simple. We know consensus is good, just like kittens and puppies. So who's going to argue against it? And that doesn't stop us from hesitating silently. All of us have had experiences like these. I'm new and I don't want to rock the boat. Or I have to work with these people. I want to get along. I want to be a team player. Uh-oh, I wasn't listening, but they all seem to agree. Uh, I trust them. They seem to know the right answer. And perhaps the worst of them, it's not important. That's where we get slippery slope groupthink, even though what we all wanted was constructive consensus. Here's another source of unintentional corporate-sponsored bias. Accounting, the Language of Business, was one of two books required for incoming Harvard Business School MBA students, along with My Years at General Motors by Alfred P. Sloan. Now that's a scan of my copy, somewhat yellowed with the years. The language of business. That sounds both presumptuous and accurate. Accurate in that everything comes down to accounting. Did we make money? Presumptuous in that it claims to be the language of business, but it has nothing to say about how to cause money to come in. Here's an antidote. Not an antidote to accounting, but to thinking that business is all about accounting. It's a book I co-authored with Ben Gilad called The New Employee Manual, a no-holds-barred look at corporate life. And the key point here is what those two books are about. Accounting is about managing. The New Employee Manual is about competing. Now, I'm not against accounting. Accounting is essential for knowing the financial health of a business and for keeping honest track of money. I am also not against managing. Managing is essential for making the organization work. But managing effectively is not enough to cause money to come in. We must also compete effectively. Competing effectively is what makes customers buy from us. It is difficult for managers, no matter how well intentioned, to compete effectively when the accounting language of business does not include words like competitor, customer, disruption, or rivalry. Our remaining customers love us. That shows yet another way that bias accidentally creeps in. I did a project long ago with a telecommunications company. They told me that someone had dropped a rotary dial phone 30 feet, or maybe it was even 30 stories, and it worked just fine afterward. Old phones never broke. They never needed batteries. They never crashed. They never got hacked. They never needed updates. Was I satisfied with my old rotary dial phone? Yes, 100%. Would I buy another? No. But notice the dangerous word in the title of this slide. That word is our, about our customers. They're not ours. They're not obliged to buy from us unless we have a contract saying that they must. But the our part tempts us toward bias as though we can count on our customers. You compete not only to keep your customers, but also to attract new customers. You need to know what the market wants. That's a concept called MPQ for market perceived quality. It's part of a tool called the value map, which in turn is part of the simulation models that I create. The simple way to think about it is this: customer satisfaction is about the previous purchase, market perceived quality is about the next purchase. Customer satisfaction is not bad or wrong, but it is an invisible and unintentional bias, though, because it can anchor us to our past customers. One more unintentional bias that companies inflict on themselves: it's positive attitude. Never give up. Believe in yourself. Make it happen. You can do it. Positive attitude is a nice thing. Like anything else, though, it is possible to have too much of it. Positivism becomes positivismitis. Positivismitis unintentionally prevents people from taking threats seriously. It makes it politically incorrect to speak up when we see danger ahead. It prevents truth. The opposite of positivismitis is not negativismitis. The opposite of positivismitis and the opposite of negativismitis is reality. So let's conclude by talking about preventing company-caused bias. We don't need rocket science, artificial intelligence, magic pills, or miracle cures. All we need is a healthy diet of good, organic, competitive strategy thinking. Now, I know it almost feels cruel to bring up reality with people who are blissed out on positivismitis. But if you just have to get real, if you simply must bring up a real problem, have a real solution for it. Then you can sound positive. My analysis shows that we are in deep trouble, but the good news is that I have a solution, and you might have an even better solution. We can do it. Anonymity can help too. There's a company called Power Noodle, and they have online tools that facilitate anonymous interaction and debates. It's good stuff. Our customers love us. Who doesn't? Now, that's a trick question because it sounds like, of course, they love us, but I mean it actually as who's out there in the market who doesn't love us, or at least doesn't love us yet. They are opportunity. Customer satisfaction data are nice, especially from a managing perspective, but you, dear strategist, want to look at a competing perspective, and that means measuring perceptions of quality by both your customers and your non-customers. And here's a hint: survey your team too. Do they really understand customers? Management wants to talk about budgets and you want to talk about investing. That's not an even match. It's not a fair fight. You cannot argue with managing on its terms. It has over 500 years of experience with accounting. Seriously, that's how long ago double entry bookkeeping was developed by Luca Pacioli. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who actually was a friend of Leonardo da Vinci. Go figure, so to speak. Talk instead about competing. You can get a good idea about what your company faces using competitive intelligence and scenario thinking. The key is to think about possibilities, both opportunities and threats, and not about forecasting the future. There is no such thing as the future, as we know from game theory, and competitive strategy is a game theory game. Finally, to beat the groupthink side of consensus, I recommend war games and simulations. They help you see the world differently. I've seen companies make 180-degree changes in strategy as a result of war games and simulations. I've seen them achieve, yes, consensus on those changes, and I've seen them save hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what it's worth to beat bias. So, and that's the end here, or maybe not. Please Contact me for solutions to many strategy problems. Contact me if you just like to talk about this stuff. I think that that's fun. And please feel free to collect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you again for being here with me today.